7 major negatives before you move to Virginia Beach you need to know about. Number 1 on this list is being interrupted by jet noise. There are, however, a few areas that you can get into in neighborhoods, areas to live to avoid this. So it's gonna be much louder on the entrances and exits of the base. Obviously, we have an enormous military population here. So we have tons of bumper stickers that say, I love jet noise or I love the sounds of freedom. But if you cannot stand the sound of jet noise in certain areas, you better get used to it or find somewhere else to live. Next is coastal storms and flooding. These go hand in hand, and you're going to be looking at flood zones and evacuation zones. The reality is that humans love the water. They love playing in it, they love surfing on it, boating on it, they love living next to it and watching it, the sunset go over the water. And so if you're going to live next to the water, there are just inherent risks that come alongside that. Now this next one is a nasty one, and it is freaking humidity. It is downright offensive here. During the summer, humidity is just gross, but probably not as bad as Florida or maybe even some places in like Alabama and Louisiana, but it does get hot and humid during the summers, and that's something you've got to be ready for. Now the walkability of Virginia Beach, for the most part, just kind of sucks. But when you're looking at walkability, walk out your front door, go on a bike, take a nice little hike around the neighborhood, go to the grocery store, get a haircut, get some Chipotle. The best possible area in Virginia Beach, by far, is the Vibe District. This is where people go if they want to have a livable and walkable and bikeable place to live. Now, the next one, no professional sports, which is really interesting because our area is probably the second largest metro area from DC all the way south. And we have a little under 2 million people servicing the area. And there are 2 people that are famous that are basically looking at trying to make that come true. We have Emmitt Smith and Pharrell Williams, who are both bidding on contracts to take over an area in Norfolk called Military Circle. And one of those contracts includes a sport complex, which could be a major attraction for hosting sporting events. Number 6 is tourism on this list, and it is definitely a love-hate of this area. Love because it drives a ton of money to the area and supports a ton of local jobs. Hate because most of the locals, it drives them bonkers. During tourist season, which is basically May to September, there is an influx of out-of-towners. Now the opposite also is true. When the tourists leave town, the oceanfront is basically dead. Now there is definitely some good news to this because if you're comparing Virginia Beach to other major markets, the housing here relatively is much less expensive. So if you're considering any of those major metropolitan areas and you have the ability to work remotely or move here and not take much of a pay cut, you can have one of the safest cities in America, and you gotta deal with tourism and humidity, but it is gonna be way less expensive relative to those other markets.